Cinema Classics is brought to you by the Gateway Film Center, 1550 North High Street, Columbus, Ohio. Further details and showtimes online at gatewayfilmcenter.com.
The award-winning Cinema Classics is produced by John DeSando and Johnny DiLoretto. Listen to the shows online at WCBE.org. I'm John DeSando.
And I'm Johnny DiLoretto, and this is Cinema Classics.
And we are at the Gateway Film Center.
Right.
Can't you tell? Look at the colors.
Look at the colors here. And also,
these are colors that Wes Anderson would like.
Here's our puppet show marquee.
And when
Check
he puts
this
it
out.
back, it'll be all askew.
You can see,
Right.
for those of you on the radio, John makes this board for the video component of the show.
Our set
And then he runs he scans something on a Xerox and cuts it out by hand and then push pins it here. 2 different color push pins. It's a ramshackle operation. And look, the pins are sticking.
Yeah, I was just noticing that.
Chris Hamel, our guest, president programmer of the Gateway Film Center. I apologize for this. What I don't know even what to call it. It's like our gang. It's like a Little Rascals putting on a show.
But it is appropriate for Wes Anderson,
It is.
whose film, The Grand Budapest Hotel, is coming out within the next week or two. And we don't, why? Why, Chris, at this time of year, that this kind of a film, Wes Anderson, as we know, the one word everybody uses, quirky.
Well, I think in the past this film would be an Oscar contender. I think that's kind of what you were getting at, correct?
Yeah.
You know, it's the Oscars have changed a lot in the last few years, and after I would say about 2010, the studios got very invested in winning Oscars, making sure their films were among the nominees. And so what you started to see is the studios like Sony, for example, with American Hustle, or 20th Century Fox with 12 Years a Slave, Warner Brothers with Gravity, Disney with Saving Mr. Banks. They've started to dominate the Oscar nominations in a way they hadn't in previous years. And that is, an unintentional result of that is films such as Grand Budapest Hotel or Bad Words, which are being distributed by Fox Searchlight and Focus. They're getting pushed into different release schedules. And so I think that's, now that you were in this post-Oscar era for 2014, you see some of these better films being released.
I think that Wes Anderson also is not somebody who is going to be thrown into the whole melee in the fall anyway. I don't think the Academy is in love with Wes Anderson the way I am. So no matter when he comes out, we're all going to go see it.
Yeah, I think they look at it as some kind of like precious little ornament. It's
Good one.
But you hit upon something I want to ask Chris. You love these pictures. I love these movies.
Right.
Why do we get excited about Wes Anderson?
Well, I don't think it's any different than the other great directors that are working now. A lot of these directors have their own style. If you see a clip from a Wes Anderson film, you know immediately it is a Wes Anderson film. But the stories themselves are very unique. The characters in those stories are, in Wes Anderson's case, incredibly unique. You really have no idea what's coming as you walk into the movie theater and the lights go down. You have no idea what Wes Anderson's going to show you. But you do know one thing for certain, and that is he is able to assemble incredible casts. And if there is no greater testimony to how good a filmmaker he is, it's that he's able to put together these really unbelievable casts.
And you know what's interesting about the Hotel Budapest is that Bill Murray, Owen Wilson, some of his same actors are there, but they're only cameos.
Yeah.
And now he's got Ralph Fiennes.
I was so excited to see Ralph Fiennes when I saw the trailer for this film and saw that Ralph Fiennes was cast as the lead,
Yes.
and in a comedic role. He just seems perfect for him. Is it? John,
Oh yeah,
have you seen it?
he's very quirky. He's uptight, militaristic about the way he runs this hotel, but he's a libertine. He sleeps with the dowagers who stay there to get their fortunes, and he sleeps with the workers, the males. So he's bisexual and he's completely loose, but he's also a man in the end of honor. So it's a most interesting composite of everything going on. Now remember, this is the early 30s.
Yeah.
This is in a mythical country somewhere in the east, somewhere between Russia, Syria, and everywhere else. And you're expecting that this really happened. It didn't. And in fact, one of the reasons I love Wes Anderson is his memory is the same as mine. It's imprecise. It's romantic. I remember the 50s.
Yeah.
Couldn't possibly be as good as I remember it.
And he beds dowagers. I mean,
Yeah, that's the
this
other
could be
side I
autobiographical.
don't do.
Starring in the next Wes Anderson film, John DeSando.
But I contend, going along with what Chris says, this is a story of intrigue. There is a stolen painting. There is the inheritance. There are bad boys like Willem Dafoe. Well, how about that?
Yeah.
And
Who played the rat in Fantastic
Correct.
Mr. Fox.
Correct.
That's right. So they have all these characters coming in and out, and they even have sets that are like dioramas. You look at them, and you know it's like the hotel. It looks like a big cake. You know, it isn't real. And you have a little funicular going up. It's funny as hell. It's like you're sitting at this little show at the museum of miniatures. But it doesn't make a difference for him. All of it is fantasy and some would say whimsy.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know Wes Anderson, the word quirky probably comes to mind.
A couple of things I want to ask you, Chris. Some of my favorite moments in Wes Anderson movies. Now, obviously, there are many funny moments, but why I think he deserves more respect than he gets is how he can invest some of these movies with a surprisingly emotional weight. So I'm thinking of the end of the Royal Tenenbaums when they're all standing on the street, and Ben Stiller says to Gene Hackman, "It's been a tough year, Dad," and he goes, I know it has. And I almost like lose it. That's because the movie is so funny, you know, apart from a couple of scenes until that point. Also in the Fantastic Mr. Fox, I love when the two foxes are sitting. The cousin is sleeping over Christopherson, and Jason Schwartzman's character he is getting really annoyed, and he tells the kid to knock it off or whatever, stop whining, and the kid starts crying. And he crawls down wordlessly, he crawls down from the top bunk and brings him over and turns his train set on as a gesture of goodwill. Those moments are so beautiful. I mean, do you have any favorite Wes Anderson moments?
Well, Rushmore is my favorite Wes Anderson film, and it touches on a lot of the same things that you're referencing. I think he constantly brings back these relationships that feel like families, and sometimes they are family, in the case of Tenenbaums. Sometimes they're not. You know, the friendship and the highs and lows of it that evolve between Bill Murray and Jason Schwartzman in Rushmore also ends up feeling very much like a father-son relationship. In Fantastic Mr. Fox, I love the scenes with where George Clooney and Meryl Streep are off to the side chatting. Now, granted, they are married in the film, which I have to say, I would be okay with that if it happened in real life too. But
Well, look at Moonrise Kingdom. And look at the relationship between those two young people. And remembering back to your first loves and how authentic it felt, and how, along with your thesis, actually sentimental it is. And how clueless the adults are in the face of just pure love on the part of those kids. It's a great moment that fuses his fantasy with reality. And I believe that's what rises above just calling him quirky. He's much deeper than that.
he has a really great way of using music as well. You know, and this is in a strange way where I've heard him compared to Tarantino before. Now their filmmaking is radically different.
Sure.
However, they both have a great knack for picking unusual soundtracks that somehow raise the film to a different level. And you referenced Moonrise Kingdom. That's one of the great soundtracks of the last few years. And I assure you, you could recognize almost nothing from it. But watching the film, I think in Moonrise even they have the record player, right? So some of the scenes are actually playing the records, and the scenes you're talking about, John, they're actually playing these records. He's gone past the just playing the music for you. He has the characters in the film put the records on for you. So I think he's really a great filmmaker, and I don't think he has a lot of contemporaries who are making the kind of interesting and sentimental films he's making.
Well, just to let our listeners have an idea of the range of Wes Anderson, not only does he brilliantly choose Ralph Fiennes, but he has actors like F. Murray Abraham, Adrian Brody, Willem Dafoe, Jeff Goldblum, Harvey Keitel, Bill Murray, Edward Norton, Saoirse Ronan, Schwartzman, Tilda Swinton, Tom Wilkinson. Come on. He pulls these together, and not one of them vies for the camera. they're all just integrated into, he's a brilliant director.
In a way, he's like Woody Allen in that regard,
Yes.
in his ability to pull together these
Yes.
phenomenal casts.
And Tarantino.
And Tarantino,
Right, yeah.
These actors and actresses want to work with gifted filmmakers who are also either great writers or work with great writers. And I mean, this cast list, as you referenced, John, I mean, Bill Murray's happy to take a role where he's got 6 lines for Wes Anderson. And by the way, he'll be very memorable in this film as he is in all the other Wes Anderson films he appears.
In one of the characters talks about the Ralph Fiennes character, who is the concierge, the complete concierge. And he says this about him, and I thought maybe this is also Wes Anderson. He says, he certainly sustained the illusion with a marvelous grace. And this is the illusion of the time with a marvelous grace. And I think that's what Wes Anderson has.